All right, today we're going to talk about screen time. And this is a really important lesson. I was sharing with Brandon the other day. This is something that I love going in and talking to students in the classrooms about this, but I also think it's important for adults to hear this as well. This is kind of a growing thing with our youth population. Even in our adults, we are on our screens a lot. So before I go into too much further, I just kind of want to quickly review about last week where we had talked about two different categories for sugar. We have natural sugar and added sugar. When looking for a fruit flavored drink, look for 100% juice. Doctors recommend the healthy range of sugar is 6 to 10 teaspoons per day, which is about 24 to 40 grams. Did anybody try that? Did you happen to look at a nutrition label and look at the grams and divide by 4 to figure out how many teaspoons of sugar was in it? It's a good little trick.
Yeah, I did.
Good,
Yeah,
Tom.
I did.
It's a good trick to remember.
Yes.
Doctors recommend, especially for kids, drinking 6 to 8 cups of water per day, and all the important reasons of drinking water, like helping your body to bend and move, fight off illness, cool off, quench your thirst, and help your blood and food move through your body. Oh, and when I'm done, I'm going to show you, I don't want to forget this. So if someone remind me, I want to show you what 80 grams of sugar would look like, which is 20 teaspoons. And I meant to do that last week and failed to do so. So I definitely want to show you that this week. So back to screen time, computers, TV, cell phones, tablets, video games, they are everywhere and they are consuming our daily life most of the time. And especially even more so sometimes for our kids, especially now that we've had the pandemic and, kids are on their Chromebooks and we've had e-learning. Much of their day is spent looking at a screen. So I want you to take a minute and think about your day, your work day or what you're doing around at home, and especially kids when they're going to school. What are you doing when you get home? When you finish work, when you finished homework, when you finished maybe dinner, what are you doing for the rest of the evening? For kids, once they come home and they grab a snack, they do their homework. What are they doing until it's time for dinner? Are they playing on a video game? Are they watching TV? And then when dinner's over, are you going back to TV? Are you back playing a video game? Are you back on your phone looking up Facebook or Instagram, those kinds of things? Or many kids are telling me that they don't even really take a break to go sit at a kitchen table to eat dinner. They are usually, sometimes they're eating while they're watching TV or playing a video game. Paxton, do you have a question?
Yes.
What is it?
Usually when I wake up, or when I finish from eating dinner, I usually play one of my games on my tablet.
You play your games on your tablet when you wake up in the morning times and then after dinner?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Well, thanks for sharing that, Paxton. So how much time do doctors say is appropriate for screen use? And I will say for adults, they say this is difficult to say what is an appropriate amount of time. But for kids, they do have a recommendation, and that is for 2 hours or less. I know a couple years ago when we were at the doctor's office with my son getting a well check, his doctor came in and said, not knowing that this is something that I share with students, but he came in and told him, 2 hours or less when you get home from school, 2 hours or less of screen time. And so it was kind of a good thing for me just to be able to actually hear the doctor say, and what I'm sharing is something that he's telling his patients. When we've spent a long period of time watching TV, playing video games, watching YouTube, on Facebook, Instagram, anything like that, we may notice that sometimes something in our body starts hurting. And so for kids, especially, I'm trying to make them aware to pay attention to that. think about what might be hurting, and they will tell me all kinds of things. The biggest things that they usually tell me are their head and their eyes and their neck. Those are the most common things that they say. So things like head, eyes, maybe the ears from wearing headphones too long, shoulders, because their shoulders start hurting because they are holding on to the controller for their game, and they're holding their arms out in front of them, so it makes their shoulders tired, or their arms, their hands, and their wrist and their fingers from pushing all the buttons. The neck, so many kids will say their neck is hurting from looking down at their screen for a long period of time. And maybe this has happened to you too. You know, when you've been looking at your phone or a tablet for a long period of time, you've noticed the neck is hurting, or that your eyes are hurting from, I know if I've stared at the screen for work all day, when I'm done, I need to take a break every so often because my eyes do start hurting. Sometimes with kids or even adults, the way you're sitting, your legs may start hurting, your feet, ankles, and then your hips or your bottom, and even your back. You know, if you're laying down on the couch, back may start hurting, or kids a lot of times will slump over in a chair because they're trying to play their video game. So you may not have aches and pains over your entire body, but you may notice one or two of them hurting, and pain is a signal from your body. And so what message do you think it's trying to give you? So Paxton, if your neck starts hurting, what kind of message do you think your body's trying to send you?
Also wanted to ask a question.
Okay, what is it?
Usually sometimes on my TV in my playroom, I usually play Spyro with the controller, but it's like up on the wall, so pretty much my head doesn't get like stuck down.
Okay, so your head's not looking down. So are you looking up though instead?
Mm-hmm.
Yes. Okay. So have you ever noticed that maybe your eyes hurt or your neck hurts or anything? No, you've not noticed that. Has anyone else noticed that?
No, I haven't.
And so if you've noticed something is hurting, that is, just a signal from your body that you need to take a break. You need to go do something else for a while. We need to think about some of the other activities that we'd like to do. I'd also like to mention that teachers are noticing in the schools, as I go in and talk with them, that their students don't have very much stamina because they are, doing screen time activities. And so they've not been outside playing and running and doing those types of things. We've noticed this year for our school, not as many kids have went out for the track team. And we don't know if this is because, we've had the pandemic and so many people are more used to being indoors and on a screen and watching TV, those kinds of things, to where now they don't have that really desire to go and do those kinds of things. But really, this is really something important to think about, because doctors are noticing more and more kids having different types of ailments. And for adults too, if we're sitting for long periods of time, that is not good for our heart or our body. We want to make sure that we're focused on trying to do some other things. And so Paxton, can you tell me something that you like to do that doesn't involve looking at your tablet or your TV?
Yes, usually sometimes when I used to be in school, I've been waiting forever to go outside because I like playing outside.
That's perfect, Paxton. And Tom and Martha and Tiffany, if you'd want to chime in too, what are something that you all like to do that's beyond, looking at a screen throughout the day?
For me, just being outside working in the flower bed or the garden.
That's great. That's perfect, Tom. Martha?
I love to do the gardening and cooking. I love to cook.
That's great too. And Tiffany, what about you?
I was gonna say it's not necessarily that I like to do it, but I'd like the end results, and that's cleaning house because I do like to have a clean house. So
Yes.
that's important.
Yes. Well, I can agree with you with that. I don't like the process of cleaning, but I do like to walk in my house and everything's in its place. And so I'm going to share a picture. This is my son. He was a third grader at the time. He's a seventh grader now. I said, I need to take an updated picture of him, but this is something he still loves to do is play with Legos. He just recently built a pretty good size Yoda that he's pretty proud of. I keep saying, we've got to take a picture of you building that. But this is a great activity. And so I share this with kids because I just try to get them thinking of what can you do besides looking at a screen. I've also had teachers say things like, kids come up to them on the playground and say, what do I do? Because they're not sure what they should be doing outside because they've spent most of their time indoors. And so I just put some different things on the screen as some ideas. And you guys have said some of these, but read a book, go for a walk, play a board game. Tom mentioned gardening, and so did Martha, and build a fort, complete a puzzle, have some kind of hobby, whatever that may be, whether it's woodworking or some type of crafting or quilting or crocheting, any kind of hobby that you may have. Pretend play is so important for kids. And I always tell them you can pretend anything. So it's, use your imagination. So many times when we're looking at a screen, the video game or the TV show that you're happening to watch, it's providing all the imaginative stuff and not the child themselves. And so having the skills to be able to pretend and make up their own things is really a good skill to have. Cooking and baking with your family is wonderful to do. Playing with your toys. I always try to remind kids that, Christmas time, birthdays, and special occasions, we get all these toys and sometimes they get left by the wayside and we start focusing, instead they play their video games or watch TV. So really trying to remind them of other things do you have at home? Draw, paint, color. Those are always great things to do. Go for a bike ride. Anything that you can think of outdoors. These are just a few examples of some things that I try to remind kids that they could be doing, and adults too. I love to hear that, Tom, you love gardening, and Martha, and cleaning the house. And sometimes the cleaning a house is a go activity too. So, if you're vacuuming, that can get your heart rate up. So does anybody have any comments about the screen time or any questions about it?
I have a question.
What is it, Paxton?
Usually, sometimes I go outside and jump on my trampoline.
That's perfect. That's an excellent activity to do. I love it. So here again are a few resources. If you would like to read more about screen time, you can go to the American Heart Association. That is a wonderful site to go to that will give you all kinds of information about different topics. And these just happened to be a couple of articles that they had about screen time. They have a lot more, but these were just a couple, just some tips on how to lessen the amount of screen time in your home. And then again, our recipe sites from Eat, Gather, Go and Spend Smart, Eat Smart. And so I'm going to give you a challenge this week. In your box that you get from Lost River Market, you are going to have a yellow sheet of paper. I'll show it to you here in a minute. It's just a half sheet of paper with some lines on it for you to write down some things that you and your family, your kids could do that don't involve looking at a screen. When I'm in the schools, I always ask kids, do you go to your parents and say, I'm bored, there's nothing to do? And almost everyone raises their hand and says that they have said that to a parent. And you know, having 3 kids of my own, I know that is not something that I enjoy hearing. So I always would tell my kids if they come and told me they were bored, they were cleaning something. So they learned very quickly not to come tell me they were bored. Otherwise, I was going to find something for them to clean in the house. And then for younger kids, we also have a paper. So any families that have some younger kids who aren't reading yet, we do have a paper similar to that last slide that I showed you with all the different ideas. So it gives them some picture clues as to some things that they could do beyond watching TV and playing video games. And then, you know, if this is something that you struggle with in your home, or you see that your kids are spending a lot of time looking at a screen, try to choose at least 2 days this week where you help them kind of unplug for the evening. You know, plan a family activity where you play a board game, or maybe you make something in the kitchen together. You cook dinner and maybe make a dessert, something like that. You go for a walk, you jump on the trampoline together, anything like that. Try to have a couple of days where they see you unplug as well, because I know even for me as an adult, sometimes it's difficult. We get caught up in different things with work, or trying to wanting to keep up with Facebook and Instagram and those kinds of things, that we end up spending a lot of time on the screens as well. I'm going to stop sharing my screen. So if you have any questions or comments you'd like to make.
I also wanted to tell you something. I also like playing with my little brother.
You like playing with your little brother? That's awesome, Paxton. You have one little brother. Well, that is awesome that you play with him. You're helping him to learn some things too by being the older brother. You set a good example. So here's the paper that you're going to get from Brandon that has this list on it. This is something we do in the schools. Kids try to help them think of all different kinds of ideas. For some kids, this is easy. For some kids, this is really difficult to do. They have a difficult time thinking of some things. And then this is the other paper that you'll get with the picture clues on there for some of the younger children. All right. Well, today we're going to make something really easy. And I just said one thing you could do in the evening is maybe plan to do a cooking thing with your family. So we're going to make a flatbread pizza today. And we're trying to make sure that each week you have something that includes some vegetables or fruits, so that we're helping you hopefully increase the amount of fruits and vegetables that you're eating. But I want to talk a bit about what you could use as a crust. So this is nice because I don't know if you have someone in your house that maybe you have picky eaters, and when you're having pizza, sometimes you have to get a couple of different pizzas because everybody wants something different on their pizza. And this is great to do because you can have all the toppings, and then everybody gets to make their own and choose what they want to do. This is kind of a favorite that we like to do in our family. We usually buy these flatbread crust. It usually comes in a little 2-pack like this, and I didn't find a whole wheat version. I'm going to tell you some other things you could use. Naan is great. So you can buy these like little individual things of naan. Those are great. Or bagels, something else you could use. Or English muffins. These are all perfect for making individual pizzas. I would say with bagels and English muffins, I usually try to put them in the oven for a few minutes, help toast them a little bit before we start putting the sauce and things on top of them. I have some pizza sauce. If you didn't have pizza sauce, you could just use some spaghetti sauce. So I'm going to spread this around. And then the fun part is you get to create it however you like. So Paxton, if you were making a pizza, what would you put on your pizza?
I like meatball pizza, so I put meatballs on it.
Meatballs on pizza. Okay. Do you like any veggies on it? No veggies? How about, I'm going to encourage you, how about try one veggie this week? If I told you that you could put spinach on there and you would not really taste it, would you try it?
Well, I tried it before and I didn't like it.
Well, try it on your pizza because it'll be on something and don't try it just by itself. Try it on something. And I bet if you tore this in little bitty pieces and put it on your pizza, you probably wouldn't even taste it. Okay. I'm going to challenge you to try that. So I'm going to use some Canadian bacon. You could just totally use vegetables if you wanted, but
Oh yeah, I also like tomatoes.
oh, that's perfect. I have tomatoes here, Paxton. Tom and Martha and Tiffany, anybody want to chime in? What are some favorite things in your households that you like to put on pizza?
Mushrooms,
Mushrooms,
olives.
olives. Okay, good.
Bacon.
Bacon. I have Canadian bacon.
That works. I like that too.
Yeah. Well, actually, Canadian bacon or turkey pepperoni, both of those have less fat than like regular pepperoni or hamburger or sausage. So this really is a lower fat meat if you would like to put that on your pizza. Martha, did you say what you like to put on yours?
We do a lot of red pepper, green pepper, mushroom, onions.
That's great. So you and Tom both have said mushrooms. So I don't have mushrooms just because I'm allergic to them. So, and we just found that out a couple years ago. Well, after I ate one, I had a little allergic reaction. And so now I'm going to put some spinach on here. Can keep going. And then look, Paxton, I have tomatoes. I can put some tomatoes on here. And then I did have some green peppers. So I'm going to put green peppers on there. I'm going to do part of it right now. But you can see how pretty it'll look with all of the vegetables on there. So I hope that you guys will enjoy making pizzas, and Tiffany, you and your family can make little pizzas together this week. I want to take the earbuds out for just a second so that I can move this pan. And I want to tell you about a dessert that we like to make. And this would be fun to make. Paxton, you and your grandma could make this together. It's really yummy. It uses graham crackers, peanut butter, and a sugar-free chocolate pudding mix. And I promise you won't miss the sugar. It's going to taste great. And then you're going to need some milk. And that's all that you're going to need. You need 2 cups of milk and then at least 1 box, but I would say get 2 boxes because I always use more than 1 box for this. But we're making frozen pudding sandwiches. So this is a frozen treat. And I don't know about you, but going to the grocery store, frozen treats are extremely expensive. For a box of 6, sometimes it's like $4 for. This makes a lot. It says it's going to make 25, but I promise you it will make more than 25 of these sandwiches. So anytime I make it, I usually am giving out to neighbors or friends because it makes so much. But what we're going to do is once you mix the pudding, of course, I've made it a little bit already today so that I wanted to get some of them already frozen. Going to make this pudding mix. And then it says to put about a tablespoon of this onto a graham cracker and spread it out. So if you like kind of, chocolate and peanut butter together like a Reese cup is, this is perfect. And then put this on top. And then I have this on a little pan or a little tray, so you can use whatever you have. I'll make the rest of them. And then I'm going to put this in the freezer for about 1 hour. You want them to get a little solid before you stick them into a freezer baggie so that they're not all sticking to one another. stick them in the freezer baggie, and then you can pull out one as you want to eat them. I would suggest that take them out, leave them on the counter for a few minutes before you eat them, so that the center has a little time to not be so hard. But it is really yummy. Another favorite in our household. Any questions about either of those?
I'm anxious to try the peanut butter sandwiches.
Yay!
I have a
Awesome.
question.
What is it, Paxton?
I forgot.
I do that too sometimes. I forget what I'm going to ask or forget what I'm going to say. That's okay. Well, I hope that you'll all enjoy making pizza this week and making these frozen pudding sandwiches. They really are yummy. I'll look forward to talking to you next week. We have one more lesson next week. And yeah, so try to lessen some of your screen time this week. If you or your children, family members love to spend time on the screen time, try to lessen that some this week.